Not all scary stories happen deep in the woods, underground tunnels, or during stormy nights. Sometimes, the most terrifying things begin in places that feel the most familiar. At the school gate, inside an old classroom, or hidden between a few seemingly harmless text messages. The three stories you're about to hear are chilling reminders that all it takes is one wrong decision, one hasty yes, and you might find yourself stepping into a place you were never meant to be. This is three real horror stories that will make you think twice about trust. Story 1. The man who picked me up wasn't who I thought it happened a long time ago. But even now, I still remember the way my heart sank that day. I was in the 4th grade. It was the last day of school, and my friend Dennis and I had planned a little play date to celebrate. We'd known each other since kindergarten, but he wasn't in my class that year, so we were dismissed from different exits. As usual, I waited near the front doors for my mom to pick me up. Parents shuffled in and out of the school parking lot, umbrellas and smiles everywhere. I was scanning the crowd when I heard a voice call my name. Tommy. Hey, Tommy. I looked up and saw a man waving at me. I didn't recognize him. He walked toward me with a friendly smile, then introduced himself as Dennis's uncle. Your mom's running late, he said quickly, and Dennis's dad asked me to pick you up. He pointed to the parking lot where his dark red hatchback sat idling. He spoke fast, almost jittery, with a slight stutter. His eyes darted around like he was in a rush or nervous. I hesitated. But at that age, I was shy, obedient, and trusting. I walked over to my teacher, Miss Blue, and said, I'm being picked up by Dennis's uncle. She glanced at the man who waved with a casual smile. Without much concern, she nodded and waved me off. The man led me through the parking lot. He walked fast, too fast for a kid with a backpack. As we moved, he rambled about random things, Dennis's dad working late, how crazy traffic was, what kind of sports I played. But one question hung heavy in my mind. Where's Dennis? I asked. He replied, Oh, he's already at my place. You'll meet him there. I didn't say anything. I just nodded. But inside, something began to twist in my gut. The drive took way too long. Dennis's house was maybe 5 minutes from school, but we'd been driving for over 10. The streets grew unfamiliar. Houses looked older, more spaced out. When we finally pulled into a driveway, the house looked ordinary. But something was off. Every curtain was drawn tight. There was no sunlight inside, only a dim lamp in the corner of a dark living room. The air smelled musty, mixed with something sterile like bleach. The man locked the door behind us. Dennis is downstairs playing video games, he said with a weird smile. Wait here. He vanished into another room. I heard a door open and footsteps creaking down wooden steps. That's when it hit me, I shouldn't be here. Dennis was never here, and I needed to get out. I ran to the front door. Locked. Not the kind a child can unlock. Then to the kitchen. A phone hung on the wall. With hands trembling, I picked up the receiver and dialed 911. Please, I whispered, I've been kidnapped. They acknowledged me. I didn't say another word. I hid the phone under a kitchen towel and tiptoed back into the living room just in time to hear his footsteps returning. Tommy, he called from the basement. Come on down. I didn't answer. The door creaked open and he appeared at the top of the stairs. He stared at me. Are you okay? I barely nodded. Then softly, I asked, Can I go home? His face changed. The friendly smile faded. No. No. No, no. Not yet. He stepped forward, grabbed my wrist hard. I screamed. He hissed, If you scream again, I won't let you go. He dragged me toward the basement. My heart was pounding so hard I couldn't hear anything else. The stairs were cold under my feet. He shoved me through the door and slammed it shut behind me. I was alone. The basement smelled like mold and rust. A single light bulb dangled from the ceiling, casting a sickly yellow glow. In the corner, I saw something that made my stomach drop: a small child's backpack, faded and dusty, sitting next to a pair of tiny shoes. And then, ding-dong. Bang, bang, bang. The doorbell rang, then pounding on the front door, voices shouting, footsteps running upstairs. I held my breath. Bang, the basement door flew open, and a flashlight beam hit my face. "Are you okay?" a police officer asked, rushing down the stairs. He pulled me out. Outside, red and blue lights flashed. At least 3 cop cars. The man was cuffed and shoved into the back of one. Turns out he was a co-worker of Dennis's dad. He'd overheard their plans. Somehow he knew my name, my face. I never learned how. But if I hadn't picked up that phone when I did, I don't think I'd be here telling this story. Story 2. The one who stood at the door, but never came in. It was the last day of junior year. It had been raining all morning, heavy clouds hanging low like they were pressing down on the town itself. The beach trip we'd planned was canceled, so our small group of 4 friends decided to do something else. Something a bit stupid. There was this abandoned elementary school on the east side of town. It had been empty for over a decade, waiting to be torn down later that year. That afternoon, with rain pounding the streets and no one watching, we drove over in Eddie's car. He brought a baseball bat from his trunk. The school wasn't boarded up, just locked. So Eddie smashed a classroom window with 2 hard swings. The crack of shattering glass echoed through the storm. For a moment, we all stood still, waiting to hear if someone would yell from a nearby house. But there was only rain. One by one, we climbed through the window into a forgotten classroom. Desks were still there, decorations faded and curling on the walls. It was eerily preserved, like the students had just vanished one day and never came back. With only our phone flashlights, we explored room after room. Water dripped from ceiling tiles. Dust blanketed everything. It smelled like mildew and chalk. Then we heard it. A sound soft but distinct, echoing from down the hall, like something being dragged. We froze. Lights off. Silence. After a few seconds, a bolt of lightning flashed through the windows, and we told ourselves it was nothing. Just old pipes. The building settling. We kept moving. But something still felt wrong. When we reached the corner of the hallway, I turned back and saw something. A shape. Part of a head. Poking out from one of the classroom doorways. Just watching us. "You guys see that?" I whispered. We all turned flashlights, pointing down the hallway. And then whatever it was retracted back into the room. No one said a word. We just ran. Our wet sneakers squeaked loudly as we sprinted down the next hallway. We stopped only when we reached what must have been the kindergarten wing. We ducked into the first open room, shut the door, and killed our lights. For a few minutes we sat there in the dark, breathing hard, listening. Then, the door handle clicked. The door creaked open slowly. There was no one there at first, just darkness in the hallway. But then, something appeared. A head, peeking slowly around the corner, its face pale blank, hair matted to the side. The figure stood motionless in the doorway, just watching us, not blinking, not breathing, like a statue. "Do you work here?" Eddie asked, his voice cracking. No answer, just silence. And that stare. Eddie passed me the bat and whispered, "Window, now." He slid it open just enough to crawl out. One by one we followed. I was last. Before I climbed through, I turned to look back. That face was now fully visible, still standing, still watching. But its hand was slowly, almost politely, waving. I didn't look again. I just ran. We jumped in the car and peeled out of there. No one said a word until we were halfway home. The building was demolished a few months later, turned into a park, and to this day, none of us know who or what was standing in that doorway, waiting. Story 3. I lied about going to Miami, and he knew it started with chemistry class. Freshman year of college. I was struggling, and the guy sitting next to me, Zach, offered to help. He was awkward quiet, maybe a little too intense, but he knew the material inside and out. He helped me pass the class, did my homework, let me glance at his test. I never saw it as anything more than academic help. He never flirted, never made a move, until the last day of class. That day, as students packed up and left, Zach turned to me and asked, "Wanna go out sometime?" I was caught off guard. I wasn't attracted to him. We had zero chemistry, no pun intended. So I lied. I told him I was going to Miami for 2 weeks to visit family. He just nodded and said, "Cool." That night I went out with my friends to celebrate. Around 10 p.m., while sipping a drink, I got a text from Zach. "Thought you said you were flying to Miami tonight." I dropped my glass. No one at that bar knew about the lie. No one, except Zach. Was he following me? I didn't reply. Next morning. "So you're ignoring me now that you got your A?" I replied. "Sorry. I was packing. Flying today." He responded instantly. "Okay." Later that night, around 1 a.m., someone knocked at my front door. I was home alone. "Who is it?" I called out. A voice replied, soft and flat. "It's Zach." I backed away. "Leave, or I'm calling my dad." Silence, then footsteps, then nothing. But he wasn't done. At 3 a.m., he sent me a message so long it didn't fit on my screen. A deranged, obsessive ramble, accusing me of using him, saying he could have been the ideal husband, begging for just one date, offering to come back and talk in person. "I know how much I have to offer," he wrote. "You just need to open the door." I called my dad, sent him the text. He called Zach's number 10 times. No answer. The next morning, I took screenshots to the police. They tried to contact him. He never responded. He just disappeared. I never saw him on campus again, but I kept my blinds closed for the rest of that semester. And for months, I felt like someone was watching. Because sometimes when you reject someone you barely know, you find out they know you better than they should. What starts as a friendly handshake, a helpful message, or a harmless prank among friends can sometimes spiral into a nightmare with no way out. In this world, the scariest things aren't always the unknown, but the things we trusted too easily. Be careful, and never forget there are people, places, and stares that should never be trusted.